everyone. Welcome to our next Lunch and Learn mini workshop provided by the Kentucky Agriculture and Environment in the Classroom. I'm Jennifer Elwell, the Executive Director, and today we wanted to talk about our careers, lessons, and activities that we have. So that is a huge goal of the Ag in the Classroom, is to expose our young people to all of the many career opportunities that are available in agriculture. So we have a wealth of resources. We are regularly asked to come to career days. Local farmers are asked to come to those, the Department of Agriculture. So there's many folks that are involved in that. But I wanted to show you all a few things that you could do in the classroom for career exposure in agriculture. What I find interesting is that when there is a career day event that happens, it's usually one person there that is representing all of agriculture. And I know, having worked in this industry, this community for many years now, that there are so many different job types in agriculture. And since it is a business, an industry sector that brings income into the economy, we need the same careers and jobs that any industry needs. So there's the business administration side of it, marketing, economic development. Obviously there's the people that produce the food and those that support the production of the food, but there's so many opportunities there for people that have an interest in feeding the world and their communities. So I wanted to share my screen so you can see our many opportunities here, our lessons that we have. And here's our website, teachkyag.org. And I am going to click curriculum so you know where to go. This week was National Ag Week, and Ag Day was on Tuesday. So this is going to be the last day that our coloring book pages will be available to the public. So don't forget that. You might want to download those. But I'm going to scroll down past some of these key resources that we have. And then I'm going to hit lessons by resources and topics. And we have a whole page dedicated to careers. Here at the top, we have our Kentucky Farms Feed Me virtual field trip series. And what I found when they developed the standards for career studies and financial literacy and also social studies in the last few years, that our virtual field trip series aligned so well with those standards. So let's view the lessons. And I'm going to show you how you can utilize this for your career studies. Now, of course, we know that farmers are in the community and they are an important part of the community in providing food. But you can look at these lesson plans by grade level and you'll see we have all the grades listed there. So let's click on kindergarten. This takes you to our Google Drive, some Google documents. And it tells you that this presentation would be a great place to start because it walks the students through several of those concepts that are listed in the career studies and social studies. So let's click on that. So it asks the big question, how does my community provide what I need? And I actually listed the standards there in the left corner, but it's about our climate, our land, our natural resources, and people resources working together is how we meet our needs. Here's a little activity, the difference between needs and wants. So you all can work together to move those around and help prioritize the things in our life and how we spend our money. Now, you will need to copy this on your own drive so you can manipulate it. So just a note, an important note there. Where do our needs come from? Showing the different places. Where do we buy food? And we show different examples of those. And then we need people to work at each of these businesses to have food. Now it's up to you to have the conversation of where we might find the healthiest food or the most local food. But we know that all of these could be important in different people's lives. And there are many instances where a restaurant could use local products. Our wheat industry is a good example of how wheat is used, Kentucky wheat is used in restaurants all across the United States for biscuits and pancake mixes at some very popular restaurants. Who gets the food to the market? The farmer. We want to make sure that there's always a farm connection to our food. We look at those resources, the climate, the water, the land, energy, how that all works together. And of course, we have a great wood resource in our forests that can help build our houses and barns and furniture. And then make the connection, farmland equals food, and we need that to survive. Are there enough food and goods to meet everyone's needs? Yes, our Kentucky farmers can do that. And then kind of a last activity is making that farm to plate connection so you can move these into the little boxes. So we get our beef patty from beef cattle. Our salad would be lettuce and vegetables. We try to make sure they have the pictures there of what it looks like on the farm. And again, you will have to copy this on your own drive to be able to manipulate it. And of course, you can always undo to get it back to where it's going. Then this last screen, it says, now it's a good time to go view one of the field trips, which we will go back and do. Real quickly, when looking at the standards for the different, the career studies and also science. So within these different lesson plans or suggestions for teaching, utilizing this, you can say, hey, discuss the weather and how might that affect food production or animal care. Solving problems is here. We have reading connections, and then there are companion activities listed for each field trip. The plan for this year is to also list a career connection for each of those. So they can see, oh, this is a type of job if you want to work with pigs or horses. Of course, we do have many of those careers profiles on our website, but we may make versions that would be a little better for our primary students. You can get passports, and of course, then if you scroll down, you can look at the different field trips. We talked about different parts of these in previous workshops, but please explore. This is just a great resource for teaching career and social studies in the primary grades. I have a few other activities for our primary students. This was part of our Feeding Kentucky program when we would go and visit the schools. I think this could be a great addition for a visitor or just doing it yourself in your classroom. This Old McDonald Had a Farm is a great way to get the kids up and moving. And this is, I learned real quickly that you almost need to train to get through this song because you do a movement for each of the jobs of the farmer. So you plant a seed and, you can come up with the movement for planting a seed of bending over and putting your finger on the ground, milking cows, feeding pigs. So you and the students could work together to come up with what that looks like, but you're going to kind of go through the song and you sing it again every time you add a new job. And you can see the picture here on the left. The kids really seem to enjoy it. I also alternate between Old McDonald and Young Miss Daisy because we want the students to understand that not all farmers are older gentlemen. They can be a young woman as well. So we alternate those. So that one's a lot of fun. You can make that your own. Bean Bean Bug is another newer activity that I take to many schools, and they just absolutely love it. It is an interactive game based on Duck, Duck, Goose. And instead of deciding who will be the goose, they're looking for aphids in their soybean field. So they take on the role of the farmer, and we tell them the importance of keeping your fields free of pests. So there are people that go and scout the fields. If it's a large operator, or the farmer may do this themselves. But aphids can get on the plants and chew on them, and then they're not going to produce as many soybeans. So print these cards out, and on a quarter of them, you want to put one of these aphids on the underside. So if you have 28 students, 7 of the cards will have an aphid on the back. You mix them up and put them in a circle, have the students come in and sit behind the cards. They are not allowed to touch them. And then explain to them how farmers must search for pests in their field. Today, our job is to find the aphids in the field. And you can designate a student as the first farmer. They can have up to 3 chances to find an aphid. So they'll hit the heads, bean, bean, bean. And when they decide there might be a bug, they'll say bug on that student. And the student has to turn the card over first to see if they have an aphid. If not, then the farmer student can try again. And it's up to you how many chances you want to give them. I usually give them at least 2 chances. And then if they do find a bug, the farmer is actually the one who chases the bug around. It doesn't matter if they make it back to their seat or not. They just like the fact that they're running around. And then the bug gets to be the new farmer. So that's a really fun game, thanks to the soybean board. And then lastly, this egg relay race. Now this is something that would need to be purchased, but we have a lot of Ag Literacy Network members that have this in their arsenal of activities. So there's stuffed chickens, there's eggs. The kids learn that you have to take corn and water, so food and water to your chickens, for them to meet their needs, to lay the eggs. Once they provide the water and the corn, they get to collect the egg, but then the chicken also produces manure, chicken manure, and they bring that back to fertilize the corn. So it is a complete cycle. And then once they fill up their basket with 6 eggs, then that's the winning team. So another really fun game. Here are resources for intermediate and secondary students. And these are from different sources. The ones that we put together are this career exploration in the pork industry. This would be better for a secondary classroom where they have to come up with all the different jobs that can address what pigs need. And then we also have, you could do this up on the board with the Google slide version. We do have the answers provided. So this is just good, critical thinking of what are all the jobs potentially that we need just to raise pork. For your intermediate and maybe middle school students, lower middle school, this Who Made My Bacon careers matching game might be a really good thing to utilize. And I printed out the card. So this is a version of Who Made My Milk, which you may have seen if you've been a part of us, but we have the job cards, and there's a picture. So I know this is backwards, but animal nutritionist, a farmer, a veterinarian, a plumber. And then, so there's 12 of those cards, and then we have 12 descriptions. So you pass them all out to your students, and they have to find the match. So some students will have the description, but usually they're working together. It's like they'll go meet up and say, hey, what do you have? And it's like, well, does that make sense? Is that my job? Once they find their match, they line up around the room together. Sometimes they might need some help. Occasionally we have to help adults when we practice this. That's okay. And once everybody has found a match, then we let the person with the description read their description so everyone can hear, and then the whole class can guess what that job is. And that way you're exposing them to all of the different careers. I think this is a really good interactive activity. You can also, once you're going through all the jobs at the end, you can talk about different skills needed for the different jobs, what kind of interests you might have, such as the animal nutritionist. I share that is a very math heavy job. I remember taking that class in college, and there is a lot of algebra involved in balancing a ration for an animal or even a human. So you may share some little things like that. Some jobs require college and some don't. You can talk about how almost every sector of business requires a truck driver, and how important it is that we have those folks. Which ones are trade skill type jobs. And then if you have time, you can also use string to make a career web. Who depends on who to do their job? And of course, we have the consumer right in the middle. The consumer wanting the product, the bacon or the milk, if you play the milk version, if they need to have the desire to buy that product for those jobs to exist. So that's kind of an interesting thing, but who does the farmer rely on? Who does the factory manager rely on to make the bacon? A lot of critical thinking, a lot of, really thinking about how many jobs it takes to have one product that we use on a regular basis. So I really like that. I'm going to go back to sharing my screen here. We're gonna hit back. So you'll see there is a version of the dairy who made my, with, instead of bacon, it's who made my milk, but there is a component for, food safety there. You can see our poster for careers in agriculture. This is another resource available through our Ag Literacy Network, or you could just put this on a screen in front of the classroom, which works very well. I also love this career quiz for your students. I'd say middle school and up. It's through FFA. You can answer 16 questions about how they like to spend their time. They like to be indoors or outdoors. Do you think you'll go to college, move away from home, all of those things. And then it's going to pair you up with job suggestions. So that's a really fun activity. Here's a cool video. It's short, talks about all the different jobs in agriculture. And then some of our lessons from our partners, such as the American Farm Bureau, Foundation for Agriculture. They have several. Environmentalscience.org has a great explanation of the different careers in agriculture. And there are some games in there and readers. This Ready, Set, Grow, Plot Your Profits is part of our the garden curriculum. And if you're looking for a math-based activity, it depends on how comfortable they are with ratios. And so this this is probably high school. But they get to plot a garden. They have an acre. It's in 100 sections. They get to decide what they're going to plant in their garden. They have to count the squares, and then you provide them profit data. You can give it to them profit by block, or they have to figure out the profit by block and then figure out their profits. This is 2017. I'm going to see if I can find more recent data, but it gives you a price per unit, profit per acre, or profit per block. So you can decide if you need them to figure this out. Obviously, this is 1/100th of the total profit per acre. But they do get this worksheet. If it'll pull up here. They have several crops to choose from. There's the instructions. Here's their garden plot. They have to make a legend. They can do a logo if they want for their farm. And then they fill in all of the data here. And then they can make some little pie charts of the different crops by area and by profit. So that may help them make some decisions and answer these additional questions of how they may want to change their garden in the future. We also have some scenario cards if you want to get this out every week, where you can have kind of some risk involved, and it would make their profit change from week to week. So you put them in a hat, you put all the crops in a hat, and then the different outcomes in a hat. So not all the students may have chose tomatoes, but if they did, you may draw out tomatoes and then say you made some improvements to your tomatoes, increase your profit by 20% for this week. So you could draw out a couple of those, couple crops, couple scenarios. And that way it's kind of living and breathing and changing over time, much like what happens in real life. Things happen, things change, the weather happens, markets change, disease and whatnot. I think that we've gone over most, except the last thing was these career profiles that I wanted to share with you. We do have a separate section for horse careers with our horse science lesson. So if you kind of scroll down, these are things that came from the Kentucky Equine Education Project. So they have a careers initiative, or we have interviewed different professionals that have careers with horses. So you can just click on one of those and read about him. So he's a pasture and forage scientist with the University of Kentucky. So what does he do in a typical day? What did he like to study? Did he like to be outside? Yes. He's also a fabulous photographer. So in his job of visiting these farms, he snaps pictures of the local farms as well. So those are the horse careers, and then our agriculture careers takes us to our Kentucky Food and Farm.info page. And there are many careers. The ones at the top will be the most recent. And then you can scroll down and find many, many more options here. Now, if you want them to keep a career journal, you'll click on student activities. And there's a lot of options here, but under career exploration, we have the option to get this information organizer where they can write, and this is a Google Doc where they can fill in all the information about the different careers that they read about. So that in a nutshell is a collection of all of our career resources and activities that talk about careers in agriculture, careers in the horse industry, We have a lot of links kind of sprinkled out if you want to look at more information, but I would just encourage your young people to consider it. Probably one of the number one reasons, one, we all need to eat, so it's important to feed new minds into this sector and community. But there are typically more scholarships available to study agriculture than there are students to take those scholarships. I know that is what kind of prompted me to look at studying agriculture after high school. That was not my intention, but I did grow up on a farm. I grew up with horses, and I said, hey, maybe there is something there that will help me find a career that I love, and it eventually happened. So I married my love of learning about science and biology with my creative endeavors. I love to draw. I loved, coming up with creative ways to tell people about different things. I love the project-based learning in classrooms. So I studied agriculture. I also studied communications and PR, graphic design, a lot of that. So all these posters behind you, I design those. I design our websites. So I love putting those two things together. And I have a job in agriculture. So I hope this was helpful to you as you are looking to bring the career studies activities into your classroom, into your schools. If you ever have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I can point you in the right direction for more great resources to teach your students about the importance of agriculture. Well, I hope you have a great day, a great weekend, and we'll see you next month with another Lunch and Learn mini workshop. Thank you.